Hello, it is I. I am live. I didn't know. I didn't know where that note was going, and then it just kind of sort of stalled out. I haven't even opened OBS yet. Oh my gosh, I'm such a bad live streamer person, YouTuber, whatever. So what are we gonna do today? I kind of sort of partially want to continue reading on the same um uh table, whatever, to almost make it like a tapestry. I almost kind of want to maybe start a new one. Well, it doesn't matter now. Anyway, it doesn't matter now because it is gone. Wait, I think I can go to the journal. No, I thought there was a way to look at past spreads, but I guess there isn't. And only got 39% battery. I know, I know. I know, I know, I know. Do 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 do. I guess we're not doing the tapestry because that is gone. Um, I feel like all of these videos start so awkward now, and I feel like I'm like so close. I feel like I'm so close, too close. Like, ugh, I don't want to be like all up here. Um, yeah, I feel like all these videos start like so awkwardly now because I'm like, partially because there's just like so many thoughts and so many things that it's like, where do I start? Do I start? But yeah, take it as it resonates. If it resonates, as it resonates, and if it doesn't resonate, don't take it. Um, and I feel like that's just sort of where we are. I think a lot of times I'm still getting over I'm still getting over that whole like no one asked me to be their discernment. You know, we all have our own discernment, and so if there's an energy that feels like, because some of them feel like they are like laden with ego traps and all kinds of other stuff. And maybe it just like is what it is. We all have our own capabilities and capacities to whatever. I don't know. I guess I never want to be the person to mislead or sell false hope, or, I never want to do that. And so I felt like because of that, it was important to like mention any of those ego traps, or like, this is how people in general sort of are. This is what the human condition can, whatever. And yeah, I guess we're just like not, I don't know. So anyway, I'm shuffling the cards. I did end up ordering 2 decks. Hopefully. Well, they should arrive before I leave. They should arrive before I depart, but if they don't, then I guess they'll be here for me. um, Here it is. I did take a picture of the spread when I put it up on the community post. It was this one, remember? So I was like, oh, it almost looks like a Mars if we put a tail on it. I know that that's the conjunction sign. The conjunction of this is, again, here in the lovers. When this path meets this shorter path, oop, and then they sort of like shoot out. Will I ever not struggle? I used to be so good. Maybe if I look at it, I'm like, yeah, this path and that path. And so basically going back to the magician's focus as it goes from staff to focus to the magic is within. Also very, very, very similar to the internal versus well, it's a flavor of the internal versus external circumstances. I think a lot of times we kind of sort of it's been like in my brain over the past few days. A lot of times we'll take this Ace of Swords, Ten of Swords, Lover's path where we have to like surrender, right? There's something that we learn, some way in which we grow, some new information that we get, something that we're manifesting, asking for, wishing for, whatever. We do our best to whatever, we reach the point of surrender, and then it's done, right? And it's because, not because, sometimes it's because, or sometimes that is the path because in this Nine of Pentacles, like we're not standing in that point of whatever yet. So it's like a child that relies upon its parents, right? We rely upon the energies of the universe, be they transits or whatever, to align, or portals as they pop up or they come, collectively decided portals that just generate a lot of energy, like a lot of other things that have a lot of like collective, unconscious, subconscious, energetic motivation behind it. When those like alignments happen, we meet the thing and we proceed out. Now, when we proceed out from there, it's less like, well, it can still be Eight of Swords and strength when it's like half faith that this thing will happen. So then that's the flavor of like Eight of Swords and strength. It's like to have faith despite everything that you see. But on the side of like the Knight of Wands to the Magician to the Nine of Pentacles, when we're in that personal portal or whatever, that's when that Eight of Swords and strength becomes the power of the Eight of Swords. To again clarified by minor strength, the Seven of Wands, to stand one's ground and to continue to put one's energy to invest one's sovereignty into whatever, despite the turning of the world, whatever transits, solar flares, whatever. It doesn't matter at that point. Right. And then eventually through strength, it will happen if we have the strength to make it happen. And I think that's another thing too. Um, and maybe I'm wrong. I don't know everything. I don't know a lot of, you could say I don't know most things. Out of everything that there is to know in the universe, I know virtually nothing. I know virtually less than nothing. With all of the possible knowing there is. Um, it's just my impression. And again, because it can be so difficult, because we have dark nights of the soul and we get frustrated or irritated or kind of beat up by life sometimes, and then we do our best to love ourselves through it. And so, Kirsty, good morning. You've been on my mind. How are you today? How's the family? Oops, I was gonna send you a message, but it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. I was like, I'll wait until like the morning time. Also, in about half an hour to 2.5 hours, there's a grocery drop off that's going to be happening. I'm not going to have to shut down the live to do that. I can just go and grab them. There's also a part of me that kind of like wants to leave things open. Hey, Holly, how you doing? There's also a part of me that wants to leave things open so that I don't know. our discernment, our intuition. Because I feel like just like things sort of like unfold for me over time, so too can they for other people, you know? And then when they unfold for me in the ways that align with my configuration, I'm like, oh, okay, you know? I don't know. Anyway, so, and again, that goes back to like the Nine of Pentacles. Um, there is the phase in the journey, TM by somebody, trademarked by the collective. There is the phase of the journey that is like a lot of like wishing and hoping and praying, right? And then there's the awakening or the first awakening where we're learning about all of these things. And we're learning about all of these things. We're learning about the astrology. We're becoming more attuned to a whole bunch of other stuff. And we're like using those astrological placements. Oh, it's almost like, because I was thinking about this before I went live. And this is the image that came to my mind to describe it. There we go. I was like, where's my pen? It's starting up. It's just, it's warming up today. It's been a little slow. Is this like not available? It shouldn't matter. There are like some apps. There we go. There are some apps that like function differently in different countries, obviously. And y'all know how like in the States, I was doing this. So when I was making the title for this self-read video, I was like, changed two letters. From Woods to Works, the O changes to an R and the D changes to a K. You can only change one letter at a time. So in the title, I fixed it. So it was Woods Words. I think Fords is a. Ooh, I know FJORDS is a word. I think FORDS is because like if you ford a river, that's not FJ, right? Ford verb. The verb ford means to cross a body of water, such as a river or a stream. Yeah. So fords is a word. She folds across the river. So I could eliminate the work by going from words to fords. Anyway, this isn't that video. I could go all day, but it was interesting how it changed. Because when I went words, works, dorks, dukes, doors, it eliminated the fork that was in the pathway. You know. So anyway, it's snowing. I wish it was not that it was necessarily snowing. I just wish it was a little colder. I'm probably like the only one. But I do. I wish it was a little bit colder. All right, new canvas. So, how I saw this thing, I'll save it because I'll probably go back to it. It's almost like, oh, I want to lock the rotation. It's almost like, I guess, so when we're down here, I guess it'll be red for the root because why not? We just kind of sort of, it's this, oops, it's this bucket. Are they, I think well, I won't be here in a week. Maybe if it'll focus. There you go. When we're down here, it's this bucket. right? And that's when we're just like wishing and hoping and praying and waiting to receive, and not necessarily before the first spiritual awakening. And the spiritual awakening isn't just spiritual, there's also like in religious systems, there are structures of like prayer manifestation and all kinds of stuff like that, right? And then up here, we'll do it green, is like all of these sort of like channels. Girl, this is, it's fine. I've reached I've reached my limit. Just imagine that it's more of these, okay? So up here, after the first spiritual awakening, it's like all of these energetic channels. What's like a Jupiter transit, a Venus transit, the sun is in Aries, all of the, you also got like maybe some like chunky ones that are like portals. This is like your 8-8 Lions Gate and stuff like that. You also got like your full moons, anything that you like manifest on, and I guess release, because it is a two-way between like receiving and releasing. So this is like when we're doing all that. And then maybe a solar flare like comes in and it like blocks some of the tubi thingies or whatever. That's when, it's not a time to manifest right now. Shut down all the gates. But when you take it a step higher than that, it's like, I don't know how to draw this besides like this, maybe. When you get up here, so this is like in the area of the Nine of Pentacles, and it's like an upside down. Like that's the bucket that receives. This is the bucket that receives. Those are like the transits and stuff. Up there at the top, it's like that's that Nine of Pentacles. That's that the power of the Eight of Swords. That's when, like, when I hear like sovereignty and stuff like that, that's like sovereignty to me, where it's like that is the utilization of like a spiritual authority, right? Like this is something that I am putting out into the world or whatever to be manifested. So it's pouring water out, and then whatever channels are free and available to manifest that, it's almost like it floods this so that whatever is open, it has to manifest. But it's again like one of those easier said than done things, because there are times when we have to constantly supply, depending on what it is that we're manifesting, we have to constantly supply this water, this materia, right? Before, and that's like also kind of sort of getting into the realm of like ether, because it's like pure energy that you're putting out there, and it may manifest through water, air, earth, fire, whatever transit. It's like whatever is available is what it'll manifest through, and that is that Nine of Pentacles that then makes this that's the Nine of Pentacles that gives this Eight of Swords and strength that different flavor, if that makes sense. But again, that's when our sovereignty has to be the one that is constantly providing whatever energy. That's not relying on passive, like this is a collective energy, or this is something that's available right now for anybody and everybody to use. Like when we're I don't want to say reliant. When we utilize those pathways, that's us being in the green tunnel, sort of like trying to take advantage of where the energy is already flowing. So it's like in the green tunnels, the transit, so you know where to move your red bucket because you know which pipe the water is going to come through. But again, like when you're at the top, it kind of sort of doesn't matter because it's like as your waters move through those channels, the bucket finds its whatever. So, oh my gosh. Yeah, that's the thing. People, it get real. I mean, I guess sometimes it happens too, where you can't control the car. Sometimes it is our overconfidence, it is our hubris that gets us in the ditch. So yeah, that was basically that. Um, and I think that was it. Cool. Let's do another one. I feel like there was something else I wanted to do, but I don't remember. So I'm gonna keep. Oh, it closed it. I'm gonna have to stay in this app. Aren't I? We're gonna see. I press the shuffle button and it shuffles. Blue, blue, blue. It's warm. It is so warm. I would go open that, but it gets loud sometimes. I might open it anyway. I'm gonna go open that and fill up my water. I will be back. Oh! No, if a seagull flies in here, I'm sure it won't. But if it does, woo! I feel like this building is well insulated for it to be as warm as it is in here. Uh, Audio warning for running water, I guess. You probably can't even hear it. Well, maybe you can. Now, again, you could say that anything that would block those green tunnels will still block them, um, right? Because just like our manifestations take the path, just like our manifestations take the path of least resistance. I'm not trying to show off that those dishes are clean, but I ain't trying to have somebody, dishes out there like that. I could, I'm gonna put them away today. Um, but anyway, um, it's the Witch's Tarot app. I have no clue. My friend did it. I forget what he said it was. But he was like, they usually just like set him outside the door. I was like, okay. And also, like, somebody else is supposed to be coming between 9 and 5 today. Um, can y'all hear that? Like all that? Anyway, so yeah, those pipes can still be blocked. It's not that it's necessarily immediate because, well, I guess it depends on what everything depends. It depends on what we're manifesting uh, or birthing into the world or whatever, right? I'm gonna cut it and we're gonna go middle, right, and then left. And then like you can also like cut the cards. Now, since this is an app, it could like, whatever. And then I hit the draw button and then I can just like drag the cards where I want them. I don't know where I want these. We'll start like this. I don't know why I want to do this today. This is a lot of cards. I don't even know what this is for. But this is the shape I'm feeling today. And then I tap them and they flip over. Yeah. So that was basically it. And that's like the internal circumstance. Now, there are special. What was I saying? Just like our manifestations find us through the path of least resistance, like that is sort of similar. It's just like where we sort of what we limit and bound ourselves by changes how it like influences the process, but also the less bounds and restrictions and limits there are, the more we have to be whatever. And again, I feel like there's a warning of like to stand against the wheel. Like it's also possible that we'll be ground to dust. You know, you have to have enough force, or you have to have enough whatever to halt the momentum of something, and even more to have it to like displace it, I guess, right? To move it back or to the side or whatever. Oh, yeah. Anyway, I had a whole bunch of thoughts last night. Also, like a spiritual because like the singularity is when AI basically advances to the point where it is superior to human cognition and everything, right? When we reach the singularity, the robots have won. But last night, it almost seemed like there's also a spiritual singularity, which you could say is the point where we collectively raise the vibration so high that humanity can't meet it or match it or support it. Basically, when we shift, it's almost like when the collective frequency gets so high that we basically have to be perfect in order to align with it and for things to continue smoothly. And perfect for humanity isn't easy. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but it's definitely not, the norm right now. And so I don't know. And I feel like, yeah, Anyway, I kind of want to do one more card here. I guess I'm going to just pull these cards. Ooh. I added two more cards. I don't know. I added two cards in the middle, which are like blockages to this. And I guess we're just gonna go for it, right? And I guess it raises the question, the spiritual singularity. It raises the question of, can we spiritually position ourselves? Well, maybe. Maybe sometimes I don't want to say that's Maybe there are certain flavors or types of dark nights that are when we kind of sort of like raise the bar higher than we can um, achieve, higher than we can sustain, right? And again, like that's the thing with like being the sovereign or certain things that we claim to be or declare or whatever. The higher we go, it's like when you're an adult, you're tried as an adult. And when you're a child, you're tried as a child. When you're an adult, there are more things that you're responsible for that no one else is responsible for. People can help you. There can be organizations and systems in place to assist. But when you're an adult, you are your own responsibility and no one else's. And that's not the case when you're a child. Like you fall under the protection of your parents or whatever, and they take the blame. They take the hits. And so to be like, I'm an adult, we got to adult, you know. Anyway, Patrick, where are you going with this? I don't know. Well, yeah, I've already said where I was going with this. So, let's see. One, two. Oh, are we gonna? We'll start at both sides. On the left side, we have the Six of Swords. On the right side, we have the Hierophant. Ooh, okay. All right, all right. See, I feel like also too, like with the we have to redefine perfection. I feel like also when we get to a certain level, or when we claim to be a certain, like again, when we're an adult and now we're all spiritual adults, you know, and again, it's not that our parents don't still look out for us or whatever, but like there are certain responsibilities that we just like have. There are certain things that are what they are. And I feel like it's very human to seek out things that meet us where we are. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if we claim to be or call ourselves to be above that, then there are just like certain things that we're responsible for. And I think that's, again, with all of the sovereignty, it's like with the direction that we're heading and speaking, and what I've been observing at least, like that's it. Like we're all adults, we're all responsible for ourselves. We can form these communities to help one another, but again, ultimately at the end of the day, final choice, final decision, final say is ours. If something has to be done, it has to be done. If there are certain criteria or rules or stipulations for something, it is what it is. And we can't, like, I feel like we can so often find or try to find ways to reduce barriers to entry to make things easier on us. It's like old dude who created a whole new denomination just because he wanted to divorce his wife, and the faith that he subscribed to previously didn't allow for that. So it's like, oh, well, go create your own. Go create one that lets you do or be whatever. But then sometimes it's like, at that point, what's the point? You know what I mean? And it's not to say that we shouldn't be able to love and accept ourselves where we are. But at the same time, if we're aiming for higher, reaching for higher, trying to achieve higher, then sometimes we have to be better or we have to mature, we have to grow up. And again, that's kind of like that spiritual singularity where we reach for higher and higher, we whatever, but it's like we don't necessarily always develop or mature to reach the point that we are whatever, right? It's like a 10-year old that applies to be the CEO of some company and he gets it. And you know, in big, it worked, I guess. But, you know, when we have responsibilities, we can't be like, well, I'm just a child. It's like, girl, well, you put yourself here. So, anyway. Six of Swords and the Hierophant is where we start. How am I going to do this? I'm going to do this. Ace of Cups and the Ten of Cups. So that's the 1 of Cups. So this is already, there's this energy of the thing that we seek. So with the Six of Swords and the Ace of Cups, that's the thing that we seek, right? And then with it feels like the Ten of Cups is what the Hierophant requires. And like the requirement of the Hierophant, it's like that's the energy that needs to be present in order for the Hierophant to also be there. It's like a plant, right? If you have a tropical plant and you take it to the middle of the desert, it's going to die unless you provide it with copious amounts of water. The copious amounts of water is what's required for the tropical plant to thrive and survive. Now, this is like this Hierophant, it's giving me like the divine beyond the Hierophant. The Hierophant is um, it's the gateway, the gate of initiation. Not initiation necessarily. It's like the liaison. The Hierophant is the liaison between man and God, between the collective and the divine. But again, it's like for us to eventually get to the point where we no longer need that middleman, where we can go to the divine for ourselves. We form our own relationship, we have our own idiosyncrasies, and it's like perfectly tailored to us, right? So next, we have the King of Swords and the Three of Cups. And you can see I'm like doing this, and then it'll be whatever. The Three of Cups to the Ten of Cups is interesting because it almost has an element pictographically. If you look at the image of the card, because the Ten of Cups is so often portrayed with like adults and children because it's the happy family, there's almost this like hierarchy. But at the Three of Cups, like everyone is at the same level. And so at that point, it's not that um, it's like when you become an adult, and if you still have your parents, like you're still their child, but y'all are kind of sort of on the same level in terms of like responsibilities and everything and like life, right? I guess depending on the dynamic relationship, it changes to where maybe like you go to your parents for advice, maybe they seek your help for things, and of course as life progresses, the caregiver, caretaker sometimes needs care. um but it's almost like it feels like a measure of respect or a level of respect where it's like, let's say that, for example, you are someone who is so earnest and um, like really about the stuff that you're about. You're someone who's so kind and someone who's so compassionate that it's almost like who would this be? It's like if you are really close with your boss at work or something. Like you're really good, you have a solid relationship with someone that is on a higher level of authority than you. And there's something that they do, or there's some new policy that comes out, or there's something that happens. And they go to you and they're like, was that too harsh? Like, or they go to you and they're like, like, how are things really? It's almost like that kind of sort of leveling where they respect you enough to maybe even like invite you into things to seek your opinion on whatever, you know, almost kind of sort of like how like Jesus came to live life on earth. And then after he was crucified or went to heaven or met with his father or whatever, he was like, this is what it's really like on earth. Then like things changed, it was a little bit easier to get into heaven. Um, and there was a whole lot more like forgiveness and leniency in it, Old Testament God became New Testament God. Um, and it's almost like being a confidant, maybe, for the divine in that way. But it requires like this King of Swords energy. It's giving me someone who is of like sound mind and excellent reasoning skills and just almost like the embodiment of justice. And it's interesting because usually like the Queen of Swords is pre-justice, but her justice is more so in like providing a verdict or a ruling or something like that. King of Swords justice, it's like justice embodied, someone who lives as justice rather than someone who works as justice or who rules as justice. Right? She's giving very not obviously, very low hanging fruit. The three kings, the three judges of the underworld, well, mostly two, but the three of the underworld, Aeacus, Radamanthus, and Minos, they were so just and so um, whatever worthy in life that in death they became judges or they became involved in the judgment process for human souls. And their lives weren't easy, their lives weren't perfect. There was plenty of challenge and difficulty and unfortunate circumstance that they went through. But their circumstances didn't define them and it didn't defile their character. They didn't become wrathful and vengeful or nasty or whatever just because of what they had gone through. And that's what made them so almost like the pinnacle of whatever, you know. But like that's what that King of Swords energy is giving. It's the one that doesn't make excuses. And making excuses is so easy to do for us as humans. Because life is hard and we don't want to feel bad about ourselves. And so we do what we can to, you know, feel good about ourselves or feel like we're always in the right or whatever. And it's fine. But if we want more, sometimes we got to do more. I'm actually going to pull these two in the middle or flip these two in the middle before I reveal the ones in the inside. So next we have the Page of Swords and the Nine of Wands. The Page of Swords feels like this Page of Swords is naive only in comparison to the rest of the world. People would call this Page of Swords naive because they live by the justice that they truly believe in. They don't compromise themselves to like fit in or whatever. And it's more than just to fit in, but they take that King of Swords justice, they take that Ace of Cups that they seek, and they live the alignment. And then on the other side is the Nine of Wands. It feels like the Nine of Wands, it's almost like every morning or as need be, there is some aspect of divinity that goes around and renews hope. And it provides strength. It provides courage. It helps us when we need it. And it's like when that aspect of divinity finds this Page of Swords, that is really this King of Swords, they like the Nine of Wands in this deck. There are a few cards that I look at in different decks. The Two of Pentacles I look at to see what the balance is like how far off it is. The Nine of Wands I look at to see. Oops, I didn't mean to twist it. The Nine of Wands I look at to see like how beat up the person is. And in this Nine of Wands, you can see like she has been holding the line. She can continue to hold the line. There is nothing that is worn down or world weary about her. You could say like her faith is that strong, or her trust and belief in the divine is that strong. Her knowing that all things work for her benefit is that strong. She's not, again, it's not that she doesn't go through challenges. It's not that she doesn't suffer, but she doesn't allow that suffering to overcome her. And like that's what the divine sees. Oh, I keep twisting these cards. I'm trying to zoom in. Should I clarify that? Because I can. And then to clarify, I just like pull another card and put it on top like that. And then I tap it to flip it. The Three of Pentacles. This is potential. You could say, so this is like in that person, the divine uses all of us to do things in each other's lives and our own lives. There are things that we do for one another. Like, what was I seeing? I saw something that was like something about a North Star. And then I was with my buddy yesterday. I went into the office with him and I was working on stuff and I found some stuff that I'm excited for. And he was like, he said something. He was like, "Oh yeah, now that you found your North Star, or once you find your North Star, then everything else will sort of like align with that." And like that's something that I had like seen in a title or heard in a video. I feel like in a few places, and then he said it. You know how we provide synchronicities for one another. Like there are things that were used. Like we can bless one another. Like hold the door open for someone or make their day, be the one person that sees them and acknowledges them or is kind to them, and how that matters whenever we are in need. We help and support one another. But this is like, and again, like that energy every now and then it comes in of like the Bodhisattva or the Elisha or Enoch who ascend um, earth before they die, the saints who are like inducted into sainthood. Some of them, I think most of them, I don't know, after. It's like this is the divine seeing that it can use someone in a special way. And like that's the collaboration of the Three of Pentacles, which is again, it plays into that Three of Cups. It plays into that respect. That's the reason why the boss or whoever goes to the King of Swords and it's like, hey, like I really trust or I really value and respect your judgment. So, like, I would love your opinion or perspective or feedback on this because I know that you're going to be honest and you're going to be fair, right? And sometimes just because we are negatively impacted or challenged or inconvenienced, just because we're inconvenienced doesn't mean that something doesn't deserve to be done or doesn't mean that something isn't fair. You know what I mean? It's just inconvenience. Yeah, I learned about those in Latin class. I think that's also where the philosophers of antiquity would stand on their soapboxes and philosophize to people. Maybe. I think so. So the thing now, I'm going to do these two last in the middle. The thing that unites these two or brings them together is the Ace of Wands and that butterfly on the Ace of Wands. The thing that brings these two together is change and the desire for change. But desire in a way, there are some things that we desire kind of like passively, some things that we really, really, really wish for and we really, really hope for and that we really, really want, but we're not going to get our hopes up. We're not going to put all of our eggs in one basket. We're not going to invest too much. We're not going to do too much this or too much that. And so it kind of like defaults to reception where we hope to just like receive whatever. But this is a very active, very like masculine desire. Not even necessarily masculine. Like it's a desire, it's to desire something enough to like put effort behind it, to seek it, to pursue it. And what's interesting is we see there are two things on this Ace of Wands. First of all, it's that ribbon. And secondly, it's the castle in the distance. The Ten of Wands, I saw someone pull the Ten of Wands lately. And of course, the Ten of Wands symbolizes like being overburdened and like a need to let go of something. But I think for some reason, what stood out to me was the destination. The Ten of Wands is a card with a destination. It's one of the cards of spiritual journeying, like the Six of Swords or the Eight of Cups, where you see someone like in movement. But unlike the Eight of Cups and unlike the Six of Swords, there's a destination in the Ten of Wands. It's that castle or the town or that place that someone, depending on the deck, is either like almost at or they could be like still some time away from. And so sometimes the Ten of Wands, not often, but it's feeling like sometimes it's like a Nine of Wands energy, but it's like the buildup of fatigue at the finish line. And a few years ago, I'm better now. But like whenever I used to hit a finish line or get close, it's like I would like before the finish line almost like crash because you're like, oh, I'm almost there, it's almost over. So you start to take it easy rather than like getting that final wind and going for that final push and like crossing. And so the Ten of Wands can be that almost like that point of being overburdened or overwhelmed because you're so close to the end that now like the weight of it all is like catching up to you. And rather than like carrying on stronger rather than that final push to get across the finish line. It's almost like that breaking down right at the end before, right? It's the last 10 minutes or the last hour of the workday that feels like it takes like it's the longest. There are so many like metaphors and stuff like that. So this Ace of Swords, oh my gosh, I didn't mean to. I keep accidentally twisting cards. I gotta like pinch in a blank space. There's also this like who has enough firepower, gas, fuel, motivation to make it all the way, to go all the way to that castle. The other thing that stands out to me on this Ten of Wands is the ribbon, the Ace of Wands, sorry. The other thing that stands out on this Ace of Wands to me is the ribbon. And it stands out to me because of, oh, I can't zoom in anymore because of her. Around the feminine's waist and the lovers is that same ribbon. It just like it draws me back to that lovers card. The lovers, if we tie in the multiple meanings, are a few of the two of the meanings of the lovers. It's about both like meeting, encounter, alignment, and choices and decisions. So it's choices and decisions that lead us to that meeting, alignment, fate, encounter, or whatever. Because the thing about the lovers is like the meeting is just the beginning. Like there's still all of life to live for the lovers. There are still going to be challenges and hurdles that they go through individually and together. And they're going to be asked. There are going to be times where they kind of sort of have to show up for one another. And it's not always easy. It's in sickness or in health, for richer or for poorer. And it's to be there through it. And depending on what our individual, I guess, motivations are, we can take those vows not, it's like low hanging fruit. Someone, maybe not marrying someone for money. Hey Tish, how you doing? Maybe someone isn't marrying someone for money, but someone is like very well off or decently well off. And there's someone who was like relying on that financial stability. And again, the money could have not been, it could be lowest hanging fruit. It's a gold digger, you know, lowest hanging fruit. Someone's marrying someone for their money. But it's just like someone who never thought that financial security or stability would ever be an issue because it just like it's never been someone's experience. But then something happens and financial difficulty comes, it strains the relationship, and then they leave for someone who can provide them with that stability. Right. And so the vow is taken regardless of the underlying desire or whatever. That vow is taken, but it isn't necessarily always taken like literally or full heartedly. And so things happen, and it's like, you know, there are conditions that we put upon whatever, or depending, it could be contracts, right? I think, I don't know. I'm not going to say Sometimes maybe when it comes to like certain contracts, there's like an entitlement to something. But in some contracts, it's like a quid pro quo. Not that it's like fully like this for that, but it's like if you honor these conditions and the other person honors these conditions, that is what um, like the conditions for the contract go both ways. And so it's almost like sometimes we can nullify contracts by not holding up our end of the bargain. And when we nullify a contract, we're not necessarily entitled to the payout because we violated that contract. There was something that we were supposed to do that we didn't do. But we continue to expect the things that we expect. But with this, again, there's something about this Page of Swords that's really the King of Swords, something that the divine observes, and that Nine of Wands that makes someone seem like such a like so valuable in contribution. That's again, it's the basis for this respect and the Three of Cups. But it's to go all the way. Like that journey in the Ace of Wands, it hasn't even started yet. Now I would pull before and after the Ten of Wands if I had a physical deck. I can't do that on here. Um, so things that can limit or block this from the divine sort of way or perspective is death. And it feels like death is that change or transformation. It's a character death. The character death of that King of Swords, it's when the Page of Swords is corrupted, doesn't uphold their end of the bargain, doesn't fulfill the contract. It's like, again, it's that scenario of when two people get married, but then all of a sudden one person changes. Like now that things are official, now that it is legally binding or whatever, there's a certain facade that fades away and there's a truth that comes to light. But like this Hierophant divine energy, it doesn't reserve the right to pull back, but it goes back to this Ten of Cups. The Ten of Cups that is a prerequisite for the Hierophant to be present. It's the copious amounts of water for the tropical plant. If you stop watering the plant, it's going to die. And it doesn't matter if the plant was like guaranteed to last for at least 10 years or whatever. It was like guaranteed to last for at least 10 years if you nurture it, if you care for it, if you provide for it. If you neglect most things, they will wither, decay, and die. Or it's like if you change up the environment too much. Again, like in the beginning with the Ace of Wands, maybe Ace of Wands, Two of Wands, Three of Wands, Four of Wands. Oh my gosh, this is the best thing ever. Five of Wands, oof, that was a little rough. Like what was happening? Six of Wands, we overcome it. Seven of Wands, we're feeling high, but all of a sudden, like we're getting this and we're getting that. Eight of Wands, we overcome that, and we're like, we know it all. We are like solid. And then the Nine of Wands comes. And it's like, well, nobody ever told me this. Nobody ever told me that. 10 of Wands, I'm feeling overburdened. I want to quit. I want to give up. Like, it wasn't worth it. Not that it wasn't worth it. It's just like, it's that overwhelm. When there were like so many highs, we thought that we were whatever, but life will continue to be life. It's like, again, it's that taking it home. Now, on the self side, the sun. On the side of the Page of Swords, what can cause this like Ace of Wands? Both of these block the Ace of Wands. It's the sun. That is something like it's not necessarily greed, but it's like it's almost again. Well, so it's like going back to that gold digger It's almost like when things get good and they get really good and we're like looking for more and more and more and more and more. In that six of wands, in that eight of wands, in that four of wands, where things are good, it's like the four of wands is one high, and then the six of wands is higher, and then the eight of wands is like this. It's like how we sort of like continuously chase. And so then at some point, it almost, I don't know, it's like how, again, even if it wasn't about, in the low hanging fruit that wasn't the lowest, like even though it wasn't about money in the beginning, it's like two people were so financially stable that financial instability or insecurity like never crossed their minds. It was like a challenge or a battle that they never thought they would have to fight. But when the challenge comes, someone like backs out. It's like, again, and they back out and they seek more money. It's almost like how power changes people sometimes, or how money can change people. Like the more you get, the more you crave. And if someone can't continue to like increase the bar or raise the bar, then like someone is done. So it's almost like you could say metaphorically, it's like someone goes on a spiritual journey because of whatever situation they're in, right? And then things get good. Now it's about like, well, how can I manifest more money? How can I, like with the sun, it feels like it becomes about like earthly pleasures. With the sun being the thing that blocks this ace of swords, because both of these are like blockages to this. Now, at the core of the page of swords, king of swords, ace of cups, six of swords is the magician. At the core of the nine of wands, three of cups, hierophant, 10 of cups is the page of cups. The magician, again, like this is the divine. It's almost like the divine reaching out. It's like if you go to creation in the Bible, God created humanity. It's like, yeah, like God created humanity because God wanted to be worshipped and gave humans free will because God wanted to be chosen. But instead of like for worship, it's almost coming out as more like, almost like, I mean, I guess it's almost like a kind of companionship, you know, like some kind of connection with that page of cups. On the side of the Hierophant, with the Three of Cups and the Three of Pentacles clarifying that Nine of Wands, with the Ten of Cups, with the someone who can go all the way with that Ace of Wands, the divine wanted like someone to connect with. Like that's the child. But on the side of the King of Swords, Page of Cups, King of Swords, Page of Swords, Ace of Cups, Six of, like it's the magician over here. So here it's almost like to the magician, the divine is a tool to make its dreams come true with that sun card. The divine is a tool to get that sun card energy. Meanwhile, the divine is like seeking genuine connection. What lies beyond the Hierophant is seeking like genuine connection. But so often it's really easy for spirituality, religion, whatever, to be about like what God can do for you and how God can make your life better and how God can give you money and give you love and give you all of these other things. And then it's like, well, God is seeking like connection too. You know what I mean? I don't know. Like, there is an aspect of the divine here that, like, just like we as people don't want to be used, just like we as people feel some type of way when we only hear from someone when they're having trouble or when they need something, it feels like the divine is sitting in a very like similar position. Almost more so because of, I don't know if it's something that the divine wishes to impart. I don't know. I cleaned it up a little bit. There we are. So that sun for the magician and the sun is just like there's ego traps all over it. Someone who gets like drunk with power, someone who becomes enticed by the things. And again, what originally like aligned or united these two, what the magician was seeking with the six of swords is that ace of cups. The ace of cups that the magician was seeking in the beginning aligns with the ten of cups that the divine requires. There's almost like a six of pentacles energy. Like, this is that person. Like, there are some, it's like that person with like wealth or with looks or with whatever that thinks that they have genuine connections to people. But when the looks fade and when the money goes and when things change, it's like there's nobody there because that's what they were really after. Let's get a, I wish I could shuffle these again. Let's get a final card. I'm going to put it here. Put it there. Queen of Swords. The Queen of Swords, that is the match to that King of Swords. Oops. The Queen of Swords, that's the match for that. Oh my gosh, King of Swords. It's almost the synergy. Like the Ace of Cups and the Ten of Cups, it's this point of alignment between the two, at least originally. Let's see. Oh, I forgot I could do that. Oh, well, let me show you the. I could pull cards until we get the Ten of Wands, which feels like it'd be a little excessive. There you go. You can see the castle in the distance and that Ten of Wands. Or in the Ace of Wands. Who's going to like go all the way? And there are so many things. It feels like whatever the magician would desire with the sun it would receive. But maybe there comes a point of not necessarily entitlement. It's just like I don't want to have to do whatever, or I don't want to have to continue to do whatever to keep getting like what I'm getting. Like I fulfilled my contract. Like I've worked my 40 hours this week. Now pay me my annual salary. And it's like, girl, like you got to work that 40 throughout the year to get the annual salary. And sometimes it feels like there's no shame in discovering like what it is that you want and then seeking something appropriate. I know in the example it was like shame on you. Um, but I think sometimes too there are aspects of, I want to say there are aspects of the divine that don't mind being used, but there are aspects that understand our truest desires better than we do. It understands what we desire before we even know what we desire. And it still has the grace to help us there. And maybe when we seek more or less, it's time to not necessarily, or you could say renegotiate a contract. I think another thing too of the sun. So there was the ego trap. It's still an ego trap, but it's a different. It's the other side of the coin. That son could be someone who like diminishes themselves continuously, and it's like it's not to be a go. It's to know who one is. It's almost like the divine is like this aspect of the divine that's like, if I am coming to you for counsel, if I respect you as an individual, if I acknowledge these things within you, then why would you kind of sort of in front of others, kind of sort of a little bit in front of others? But it's like, why would you make yourself less? You know what I mean? Almost going back to that, it was Anubis in the SKT Revelations Necromancer, the Moon card. Anubis himself had showed up to watch the heart be weighed on the scales, and usually it's Ma'at. And it was that energy of like, you go into an interview and the CEO is there, or there is someone of a significant sort of standing or position that like knows who you are, that seeks you out. And then you're like, oh my gosh, like I'm not worthy and blah, 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 whatever. And it's like, if you weren't worthy, they wouldn't be there. If you weren't deserving, they wouldn't show up. You wouldn't be on their radar. They wouldn't be interested. And it's almost like it's someone who makes themselves less, someone who doesn't bring their full self to the table. And so for the person who carved out time in their schedule to be there, it's kind of disappointing to like not be able to see whatever. you know, to not be able to see the very thing that sort of like drew them in the first place. Or it's like, if there's some famous like singer or whatever who loves your voice and they want to hear you sing, you're like, oh my gosh, like I could never sing in front of you. Like I'd be so embarrassed or so ashamed because I pale in comparison to your talent and I could never stack up. And it's like, again, like that person wouldn't be there if they weren't already whatever. And so the sun, and it's not entirely inappropriate, but it's this like this ego trap of like I'm gonna make myself less than who I am. This isn't someone who's like art like, because again the other side of the coin could be like artificially inflating, making some, like one seem bigger than they are, like they're more whatever. That was the very thing. It came up maybe before I started flipping the cards of like the 10-year-old who is running the company. And it's like if you're a child putting yourself at the adults table, and then when something is asked of you, like being like, oh, but I'm just a kid, like I'm just a child, like don't ask these things of me, don't require these things of me, don't whatever. But at the same time, it's like we want to be there, but we don't want to be there. We want all the perks, but none of the responsibilities. We want to get paid, but we don't want to clock in type energy. Like those are the two sides, or two more sides of that sun being the thing that blocks, that acts, that can block that ace of wands that stands sort of like in between them. Cool. Well, I don't know what this was, but I feel like it's complete. I feel like there's even more to that because the Queen of Swords. Okay, so it goes back to the King of Swords is justice embodied. The King of Swords is the one that lives the life of justice. The Queen of Swords is the one who is asked to play the role of justice, right? So that Queen of Swords, it's almost like so the Queen of Swords is like it's the divine wanting us or whoever this resonates for, the divine wanting that person to step into this role of Queen of Swords, to be minor justice, because there are certain things, because of free will and the clauses of free will and choice, there are certain things that we as humans have to do, both individually within our own lives and as an extension of the collective. Just like they say that your angels can't intervene or your spirit guides can't intervene unless you allow them permission to. This is like similar. So again, like in the face of the world, in the face of everything, even when things get difficult and challenging, it's to go all the way to that castle. And again, it's not to necessarily get drunk on power or to make oneself more or less than or whatever. Now I'm like flipping cards to try to get to the 10 of Wands. This may take a minute, but I ain't got nothing else to do right now. Well, I do have other things that I could be doing. Oh, there's the 10 of Wands. So I can do before and after. Interesting. So the 10 of Wands is in between the Wheel of Fortune and the King of Pentacles. And you can see how close. Oh, crap. I can't get rid of that. It's fine. You can see how close to the castle that 10 of Wands is. It's like that little path. And, it's like there is some elevation there, and there are some things that are big enough that they may look closer than they are. But this is like near the finish line. And again, for comparison, that's where it started in the Ace of Wands. Now, there were 2, 4, 6 cards that came out before the Wheel of the Year. It was the Moon, the Seven of Wands, the Eight of Wands, the Lovers, the Queen of Cups, and the Eight of Swords. Then after that Eight of Swords is the Wheel of Fortune. Maybe the very thing that we didn't think would ever change or whatever ends up changing. The King of Pentacles feels like, I almost want to say it feels like a station that we're given, or whoever this resonates for. Who would this resonate for, girl? I don't know. I do the things and then I flip them and then I try to put it together. It's almost like the new kings of Earth. But it's the ones who sort of sit in this justice, and not a justice. It's not human justice that is like, oh, well, I didn't do anything illegal. So, or, well, I paid the judge this much, or any other brand of justice that is not justice. It's like, so this King of Swords was the energy of Aeacus, Radamanthus, and Minos in the underworld, in their death. But this is to put them in that position while they're still alive, while they're still living, because it sets a new precedent and because it changes things in a way that so many of us need things to be changed. Not everyone is necessarily geared to, wired to, supposed to be these Eight of Swords. Like, it doesn't matter what things look like this is going to happen, whatever. It's like cardinal energy. Not everyone is cardinal. It may actually even be more mutable. It's more mutable. Not everyone is mutable. Because it's mutable that changes things from an old way to a new way. It's cardinal that once there is the new way, that creates the framework, and then it's fixed, that solidifies the foundation and is the happily ever after of like that running. Basically, some people need to see, and that's fine. Like, again, we all have different roles. We're all aligned to different things. We all have different passions and motivations and drives. And it takes everybody. It takes all kind of people to make the world go round, right? But I think, no, it's fine. I'll just leave it at that. All right. Well, oh, crap. I'm trying to take another screenshot. This Three of Pentacles with the Nine of Wands, there's a kind of encouragement here, or there's something revealed, because in that Three of Pentacles, they're writing a letter. Right. with that Nine of Wands. The Nine of Wands, like, this is on the side of the Hierophant slash divine, but just like it's about the energy behind the Hierophant, in this Nine of Wands, it's like the sun that rises behind her. Like, this would be the magician. The Page of Cups would be that sun behind it. So it's like there's something, partially there's something that's being communicated. It's also partially something that we can only see or witness or understand when we're there. Maybe because when, like, we're in the beat up, when we're the wounded warrior in that Nine of Wands, it can be difficult to hear, see, witness anything besides like the pain that we're in or the challenging circumstance that is before us or whatever. We don't have enough bandwidth to hear or receive any differently. But this is the will of the year, and the year is almost over. This is the 10th month. There are 10 wands. Even though wands are what, weeks? Swords are days, wands are weeks, cups are months, pentacles are years, whatever. Twelve wands would be the Knight of Wands, which we saw after that Ace of Swords yesterday. The one who moved with a certain passion, having that information. And again, there's something. It's fine. Cool. Oops, I did not mean to move that. All right, so change reading cloth. Draw a specific card. I can do that. Hold up. Let's draw the Fool. Where is it? Is it like the oh, it ended up right under the Ten of Wands. I can't pull before and after it though. All right. Anyway, I hope you all have an amazing whenever you see this. I hope you're acting in alignment to make all that you wish to experience your reality. I hope that whatever you need along your path journey and where you find. And I guess the biggest takeaway is that sometimes in order for the divine to move or do whatever, it requires human request and human permission. It requires us to use our own free will to align with that desire. Again, it's almost like going back to the corporate structure of the boss that really appreciates someone. And for whatever weird corporate reason, it's like you are a hard worker, you're very diligent and very you pay attention to details and whatever. Like, you deserve a raise. Your boss knows that you deserve a raise, and your boss wants to give you that raise, but your boss can't just give you a raise. You have to request it. If it's not at the annual whatever, if there's a significant enough amount of achievement within the year, you can request a raise. And it's like your boss is kind of sort of like telling you to request a raise without telling you to request a raise, because they can't tell you like, hey, like, you should ask for a raise, it's already yours. So they're just kind of sort of like not they're just sort of like waiting for you to like inquire, you know. And depending on the structure, they may, after you ask for that raise, they may be able to like coach you a little bit, because if they don't make that decision, but if it goes before other people, like, they could tell you like, okay, well, these are the achievements that you want to highlight, and these are the things that you want to mention, like, you know, this is all the stuff that whatever, so that when we make this case, like, because you may have to be the one to make that case. They can advise you, like counsel, they can provide counsel, But when it comes to formally requesting something, you have to be the one to do it. And they want you to do it, you know. What part of that was related to that? I don't know. Something about the Queen of Swords and the three of, maybe it was more so that three of Pentacles. I don't know. But it requires us. And I feel like, let's take it as it resonates. Take it as it resonates when it resonates, if it resonates, and if it doesn't resonate, don't take it. Don't force it to fit. I mean, you can do whatever you want, honestly. But I guess I should say if it doesn't resonate, but you take it as if it does, I am not liable. I'm not, well, I don't want to say I'm never liable for whatever because I don't not feel responsible for what I put out and for what I say and stuff. But if someone takes something that isn't theirs, that's not on me. There are plenty of people here that are reading plenty of things, and may we all find who resonates for us. And until next time, I hope you all have an amazing whenever you see this. I hope you're acting in alignment to make all that you wish to experience your reality. I hope that whatever you need along your path, journey, and where you find, I hope that next time maybe there are times when certain things are appropriate. But I would love to just, like when I read Scorpio season, it was just like, oh, this is like shockingly whatever, like more of that. But also, again, in regards to that like spiritual singularity, sometimes it isn't even necessarily always like super collective. Sometimes it's almost like, not always, but it's almost like sometimes there are like devil energies or trickstery type energies and spirits that will almost like have us overload our plate, I guess, in a way, to overburden ourselves. Or maybe we feel that it doesn't even necessarily have to be a trickstery spirit or double energy. It could just be like us wanting to rush our own process, or maybe not fully understanding all of what something entails until we get into it. Um, and the only devil energy, trickstery spirit energy is when we overload our plates and then we burn out. And then we're almost in a position worse off than when we started before. Right. When we ultimately, all things work for the higher and better good. But when we ask for more than what we're capable of, you know, we ask for things that require us to be to align in a certain way to receive them. And the alignment can be challenging and difficult for us because it's something that we haven't done before, or it's something that we're not used to. And again, ultimately, it works out for us when we do align to that. But temporarily, depending on how we deal with that disparity, um, it may not be pleasant, So anyway, I don't know. Don't listen to me. Listen to you and your intuition and your discernment, but like big intuition and big discernment, and not like patterns and what you want to hear, or the things that inflate the ego and soothe the ego but provide no substance to the self, so that it ultimately crumbles or whatever. You can do whatever you want to do because you have that right to choose. So decide whatever you will.